7 floors below the street, you can hear the faint, steady rhythm of tires on asphalt. Millions of tourists are driving directly over a concrete maze filled with sewage and trash. This image captures the sheer density of the Las Vegas Strip. Up there, an entire economy runs on excess, generating $15 billion every year. But underneath those neon lights lies a hidden mirror image. Approximately 200 miles of drainage tunnels weave through the bedrock, serving as a permanent home to roughly 1,500 people. Life down here unfolds in perpetual darkness. The ground is a toxic mix of discarded needles, dead animals, and ankle-deep standing water. Hovering over all of it is the constant, lethal threat of drowning. In a city designed to extract and display extreme wealth, we have to ask how individuals end up buried underneath it. Why do people fall into this specific concrete trap, and why is it so difficult for them to climb back to the surface? The descent usually begins with simple math. Nearly 7 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck. When you have zero financial buffer, a single medical emergency, a lost job, or an evicted apartment is all it takes to push you onto the street. Once on the surface, the unhoused clash with a city built entirely for tourists. Local authorities aggressively categorize them as undesirables, using severe trespassing laws to arrest people simply for existing on public boulevards. This photograph of a rocky flood channel illustrates the result. With the pristine casino skyline in the background, police enforcement actively pushes the unhoused away from the commercial districts. They retreat to places the police radios can't reach, state-owned flood zones and underground drains. Moving underground is rarely a choice. It is a forced geographical consequence. When a city actively purges poverty from its surface, the displaced population naturally sinks to the lowest available elevation. As you can see in this view of the surrounding desert, Las Vegas sits on unforgiving terrain. The local soil is extremely hard and practically impermeable, meaning rainwater cannot soak into the ground the way it normally would. This animated map breaks down the city's solution. Engineers constructed a massive network of drainage lines that funnel water from the surrounding perimeter directly into the central tunnel system, protecting the lucrative real estate above. Watch how fast this system operates. A rainstorm 15 miles away in the mountains can send water rushing down these exact lines with zero warning. Within exactly 10 minutes, a dry tunnel can become a trap holding an 8-foot wall of water. Look at this concrete entrance. This is a primary choke point. When the water hits, the people living inside have only minutes to scramble toward these grates. The current is merciless, and countless individuals lose their lives to drowning in the dark. Escaping the current means abandoning everything you own. Tunnel residents routinely lose their tents, their clothes, and crucially, their physical identification cards to the floodwaters. That loss effectively deletes a person from the official record. Without an ID, you cannot apply for a job, sign a lease, or access the very services meant to pull people out of poverty. The physical storm creates an administrative barrier that makes returning to society functionally impossible. Surviving the environment and the bureaucracy takes a heavy toll. Living under the streets forces inhabitants to navigate pitch-black corridors entirely by touch, placing them in a near-constant state of sensory deprivation that slowly erodes a person's grasp on reality. Violence and death become background noise. Residents recount watching fatal overdoses and knife fights with total detachment. When survival consumes every ounce of energy, brutal trauma becomes a completely normalized part of the daily routine. This ecosystem rewrites human psychology. As outreach workers point out, if you walked into the tunnels today and handed everyone a brand new ID, they would still be there tomorrow. The experience of living in the dark roots them in place. One tunnel resident described the surface of Las Vegas as wallpaper. The grand hotels and flashing billboards are a manufactured illusion of success, designed exclusively to look spectacular while masking the structural failures happening right beneath their foundations. Poverty in this context isn't a lack of money, it's a compounding machine. It combines flash flood survival with administrative erasure and absolute erosion of the self that comes from living in total darkness. Fixing this requires looking past the neon lights. True solutions must dismantle the deep structural roots that actively push people into the dark and leave them without a path back to the surface.